All right, this is some extra bonus coverage from Source from the Sofa, as we're not going to fully talk about what happened in college football week 10, I believe. Was it what was it?
Nine.
Week 9. I'm starting to get confusing here though. But
It's one.
good
It's
news
always
though.
one more than call. It's always one more than the pros.
We did well on our picks this past week. We rebounded nicely from games of the week. We went 7-3-1, guys, which brings us to 60 wins with 47 losses and 3 pushes. That is fucking money. We knew we were good, but we're tracking it. We're pretty good. So props to you, Aaron. That is phenomenal as well.
Yeah, I mean the one game we pushed on. If you were fortunate like Jaeson and got that hook with Mississippi State plus 7.5, I'm happy for you guys.
You know what? I'm glad. I was really shaky about the UCLA game. I was like, the points. I have a feeling they're going to get beat by Indiana. I know that's part one of your locks of the week, and I was like, I don't think so.
Rome, I put that loss on you. You wore the jersey. Don't ever bring it on. I mentioned that Wednesday. I said you're either good luck or bad.
Jaeson,
I think you wore a Steelers jersey. They haven't won. Now a UCLA jersey.
We were talking about every time I wear a jersey. That's why I don't wear my team jerseys. They fucking lose terribly. And then I was rocking the UCLA thing for the college football show, and yeah, they got beat soundly. So
yeah, I mean, you and all my friends that are UCLA fans really were selling us on UCLA being back with this new regime and everything. And man, Indiana
put a beat down, and you know what? After that Penn State game, they've done okay, but like the offense hasn't really like come out and performed like that ever since then. It's they're making strides, but yeah, a little too much love. So they lose their first conference game of the year. We also did well on our Westgate Super Contest, so we're back in the top 100. Confident we'll make some more movement in the coming weeks. So it's been pretty well for college football. It's been really nice. But in surprising fashion, though, we're actually bringing the bonus coverage because I'm going to say Chip Kelly, and it's not Chip
Brian.
Kelly.
Yeah, I know you're thinking about Brian.
I couldn't get on my head now because Jaeson said earlier. I'm like, no. Brian Kelly. Jaeson texted us that they're talking about like, hey, your season's done, bro, which is like a weird precursor to getting fired. Like, okay, so are you getting fired at the end of the season or are you getting fired now? No, you're getting fired now. They also let the top assistant coach go today, which he was pretty instrumental with helping Jaden Daniels win the Heisman. I can't remember his name, but he's
Joe Sloan. Joe
Sloan, really well respected. So that was kind of surprising. Well, probably because he's like a right-hand man for Kelly, so I guess so. But apparently,
I will say, Rome, from what I heard, that, and maybe Jaeson, you can jump in. I think Brian Kelly met with the AD on Saturday or Sunday morning, and they were going to get rid of. He wanted Joe Sloan gone, so Kelly was going to move off him. But also the offensive line coach, Kelly wanted to get rid of too. I guess the AD had a problem with that. I guess he was kind of the fill-in intern for a while there back in 2021 when Ed Orgeron got let loose.
Oh.
So that was kind of where they had a disconnect. I heard the AD stormed off and, calls, boosters, the governor involved. I mean, the governor literally get involved because they don't have a school president. Hey, how are we going to come up with this money? As they say in Louisiana, we'll find a way. And yeah, Brian Kelly's shown the door. A lot of interesting stuff going on down there.
That's surprising. And obviously it was made a big deal when he got hired away from Notre Dame to go to LSU. I found out earlier today that he was initially thinking about leaving Notre Dame and retiring. He was kind of done with the college game, maybe thinking about going to the pros. So the fact that LSU kind of hit him at a time when he was thinking about bouncing out anyways with so much money, he does a hop, skip, and a jump and starts collecting that fake Bayou accent, and that's the start of his tenure at LSU. Started off pretty well, but was kind of shaky with having some pretty big losses. Fans have been clamoring for him to get fired, starting with their first loss of the season. So I'm not really sure. I don't really know any LSU fans personally. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the rumor is just like the confidence was lost on Chip Kelly early in the year already, and it just got worse with every loss that they've endured this year. So the coaching carousel is going crazy, kind of emulating like the NFL in college football. Who knows what will be the final remainder buyout for him? But it is rumored that he's going to be receiving $800,000 a month in the meantime. So we'll find more from that. But initial thoughts, reactions from, I would say, the biggest firing so far this year.
Yeah, I'd say biggest firing. I think maybe Aaron's guy in Florida State. Maybe that could be pretty big here coming up too.
That's coming. That's
coming.
It could happen Sunday too if they lose to Wake Forest.
Yeah,
it's on the horizon. It should have already happened.
And I still don't know because I think the James Franklin one honestly was bigger because I
agree.
Penn State going into this season, this was
championship.
They were seen as championship. I think LSU was predicted to do better, potentially win the SEC, be one of the teams in the playoff. And so I think this was supposed to be, hey, they didn't have to go undefeated or anything, but I think getting into the playoff was probably a must for Brian Kelly going into this season. But it was never a good fit. I think everyone who said it immediately said it wasn't a good fit.
Yeah.
I'll say like Notre Dame had probably mixed feelings about Brian Kelly through his entire tenure because he came as a coach from Central Michigan that, hey, he won at Central Michigan, translated to the Cincinnati job, goes undefeated at Cincinnati, goes 12-0, translate that into the Notre Dame job. He gets Notre Dame 12-1 to the BCS National Championship game. But by 2016, he lost the program, and Notre Dame went 4-8 that year, and he was almost getting fired. And there was times in that, I want to say that,
I forgot about all that.
Yeah, there was times with the BCS National Championship. You mentioned him retiring or whatever. I mean, there was tons of talk of him going to the pros. Like he was always linked to like the Giants job and different stuff in New York. And so there was always that with him, even who's at Notre Dame that, excuse me, that he was going to go to a bigger job. And, he almost loses his job at Notre Dame, kind of changes his style because he's a pretty, I don't know, edgy, rough around the edges type coach as far as, getting in players' faces and just overall.
I heard he's an asshole.
Yeah, okay, putting it probably what it is. I mean, there's a great story. I think it's Robert Saleh and head coach of the Packers,
Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, they were on his coaching staff at Central Michigan, and I think there's this whole thing, this story about them basically having some sort of Christmas party, and these guys were like graduate assistants or something, and they thought they were invited to the Christmas party, but no, they were brought over there to like work and park people's cars.
Wow.
And so I think there's been a whole thing where these guys have kind of talked through of like, this isn't the type of head coach we want to be type thing. And I think he's always kind of had this reputation, Brian Kelly, as far as, not being the nicest guy. And it comes to a lot in college. These guys like demanding respect and discipline. And I think Marcus Freeman probably the exact opposite. There's like a motivator type coach where these guys really, they're going to run through a brick wall for the guy. And Brian Kelly just wasn't that. And I think it was kind of shocking when he left Notre Dame a little bit because they were 11-1 in that season. They were seen to, go to another, to the next level. And, he leaves for LSU because all of this time it could be for national championships. And it's looked, Notre Dame's success has probably made it even look worse because he says, I'm leaving Notre Dame to compete for a national championship. And Notre Dame actually does play for the national championship.
Yeah.
And Kelly just never was a fit, whether it was culturally, you mentioned him faking the Bayou accent down there. And
he just didn't seem like an LSU guy either way, right? He just,
it didn't fit. I mean, just overall a guy from the Northeast that coached Midwest Northeastern teams and fitting in the SEC. I don't think it was there. So I don't know where his future goes. Does he stay in college? Or you mentioned you talk pros. I'd imagine, people are.
I think he's done.
I don't think so. These guys are. The coaching carousel goes around. You're gonna have like your UCLA Bruins, Wisconsin, one of these other schools that has one of these opens in a big conference. Pay him. He may not get the LSU money, but I don't know. I think he finds his way back to be redeeming. I mean, you got what's his face in Arkansas right now for his second tour in Arkansas as interim coach. So these guys always find their way back.
Yeah. I mean, Brian Kelly, to put it like you said, Rome and Jason, like personality wise, he's a dick, right? It's, hey, this is how I do things and this is how I want it done. And look, that worked in college football a while back, but now you got NIL, you got social media. kids, post stuff. They go, hey, you know what? This guy's an asshole. I can go somewhere else and get paid the same amount of money or more and get treated better. And he never bought into the culture there at LSU. Like, he came there. I mean, he won at LSU. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he won 10 games, 9 games, and 5 this year. I mean, you look at his losses this year, it's against the number 3, 5 and 9 ranked team. So, I mean, he's lost to 3 teams in the top 10. Jaden Daniels, you mentioned, was a good college quarterback. Got there. Joe Sloan, QB coach, turns OC. They turn him into a Heisman winner. But the offense, they have roster problems. I mean, defensively, they were not good the first couple of years under Kelly. They're a lot better on that side this year. Offensively, their O-line sucks. They're playing a lot of freshmen. Guys that transferred in are either hurt or just not performing at a high level. They can't run the ball. They're situationally bad everywhere. And Texas A&M is a really good football team, and Marcel Reed's probably the front runner for the Heisman, if not this year, next year. He's a really special quarterback.
Yeah, he's really
good. And they got manhandled by him, and they did last year down there at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Romy said you're not sure if he's going to work. I think he's going to work because I think he's already come out and said he wants to coach again, and there's going to be a ton of jobs open. Wisconsin's going to open up. Michigan State's likely going to open up. We know UCLA's open. Penn State's open. Matt Rule leaves. Nebraska opens up. You don't think Nebraska would like a coach like Brian Kelly coming there to win? I mean, I said Brian Kelly can go to Florida State because he's good for 8 to 10 wins every year, and a lot of these mediocre programs need that right now. You're 65 years old. Come coach 5 years. Maybe you hire another hotshot coach. Because I will say this about Brian Kelly. He's brought in great talent in, but he's also brought in great coaches. He brought in Marcus Freeman, Mike Elko, Clark Lee. All these guys have been defensive coordinators for him at all his stops, and now they're excelling all in the top 10, basically, in college football head coaches running elite programs. So he knows how to find talent through coaching and whatnot.
Yeah.
He just hasn't had great relationships with them. I don't know if it's like an ego thing where like, hey, I'm older, I'm smarter, I know the things what I'm doing, and I taught you. That's kind of his problem. But I think if you're a program, he won't go to UCLA, but like Wisconsin that has won a lot and now is really in the dumps. Why not go get Brian Kelly and get back to 8, 9 wins and become respectable?
Yeah, especially you look at, you mentioned Wisconsin, but you go to the Big Ten's pretty competitive, but the Big Ten's also so big where people question Indiana. You get the right schedule, you win 8, 9 games almost pretty easily if you got some solid talent and you got a disciplined program. The Big 12, man, if those are one of those programs, some wide open stuff within that conference is pretty balanced. I don't know which jobs you'd be looking at.
Oklahoma State, are they going to commit the money? I mean, that'd be a good landing spot, but you got to commit money. Brian Kelly's not going to go unless you have the resources and commit the money.
Yeah, so the rumor mill's already going around. Aaron, I don't know if you want to share who you think might be good prospects for the LSU job. I was hearing that there's a lot of interest and mutual interest with Dan Lanning. Dan
Lanning was a guy I know LSU would reach out to. He'd be on top of their list. I know they'll probably reach out to Marcus Freeman. And from what I'm hearing through the grapevine, he's not dismissing it. But all these guys are just looking for that next big contract extension at Notre Dame and Oregon. And they'll get it. Dan Lanning's not leaving Oregon. I mean, he's got everything he wants there. LSU, for me, I think LSU's top target should be Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. That would be my number one guy to go get. He's only making $3.7 million. I looked up at Vanderbilt. Is Vanderbilt going to commit $7.5, $8 million to keep him and give him like a $80 million 10-year contract with a $60 million bill? I don't see Vanderbilt doing that.
Yeah.
I could see LSU easily stepping up to the plate and giving him, $9 million, $54 million contract over 6 years. Another name I'd like to, I mentioned, would be Brett Keys, Georgia Tech's head coach. What he's done with that program, kind of how he fits in culturally, the toughness.
Yeah.
I think he fits in at LSU because to me, he's a younger, better version of Ed Orgeron who was already there without the partying and all the stuff that he had going on. Those would be my 2 lead candidates for LSU right now that realistically I think take the job.
LSU has done well when they hire guys like that. If you remember Saban, he was kind of like unknown but had some success at prior spots. That's when he blew up. The coach that followed him after that, same thing. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was Les Miles. They got him from Oklahoma State. And Saban, solid success at Michigan State. You think about it, Saban, I think he had questions when he was at Michigan State, and then eventually came over, got that program in the right direction and got there. So, yeah, I think Aaron listed off a lot of great contenders. I don't think Dan Lanning, that checkbook is wide open at Oregon, and if I'm Dan Lanning, you have the resources to win a national championship in Oregon. So I don't know why you leave to go do that job. I mean, the Phil Knight money is good money, and in the Big Ten right now, they're at worst the second best team in the Big Ten right now behind Ohio State. So that's a good job, and Oregon continues to be a good job. I don't see LSU being a much better job than that to go and have to play that schedule. I think Aaron's call for Vanderbilt's coach, I think is a great call. I mean, college basketball or college football. I say basketball. I don't know what happened to Rome right now.
Sorry,
I'm still on a double. It was a double. I see a double. Is that behind you? Okay, all right, all right.
They don't have anybody left in their bullpen. I think the Dodgers. It's gonna have to be like a position player next. They have to get it here. Go ahead.
I don't even know where I was at, Rome, but I think Aaron listed off some good names. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think the ties to the South, he said, with head coach of Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech makes sense because, hey, the cultural aspect of in that area of the country, knowing their recruiting. I mean, that was kind of the biggest thing with not the biggest thing, but one of the things with Brian Kelly, like the recruiting aspect of having go down to LSU versus what you were doing with an entire career that was in the Midwest, very different. I don't know if you'd have the same questions about a Dan Lanning type thing, but you got to think of what's the recruiting base of these guys and who they're going to bring in, and the resources are there, and LSU's going to have the resource, but the SEC is only getting harder because you got schools like Vanderbilt and all these others making it more competitive. Now Texas A&M, like Aaron and I since last year kind of been on the A&M bandwagon a bit right now, and Elko's got a team right now that that's turned into a heck of a program because he turned Duke into a really good team that was competitive, and now they got a lot of resources in Texas A&M. It doesn't make it a slam dunk to be one of the 4 SEC teams that are going to the playoff every year.
Yeah, I think we've touched on it. Jason has with this NIL money. The days of just loading up rosters are over, and I think fans now in all these power conferences have to have a realistic what's going to happen, right? There's not going to be every year LSU, Alabama, even Georgia's getting by with some of these close games where they're going to be in the playoff every year. Heck, Texas was preseason number 1. They're in the top 25 now, but this isn't a top 25 team. They're not going to the playoff. They're not anywhere near one of the top 4, 5, 6 teams in the SEC this year. Does that mean next year they won't be? So, I mean, it's difficult. The conference is extremely tough. I think you have to have real expectations. Like, do you want to go there with the idea like you've got to win every year, you got to make the playoffs? Like that's tough to do.
It is tough.
And Brian Kelly, I mean, it was interesting because obviously A&M beat them bad, and then there was another comment that was brought up. Obviously, they lost Bryce Underwood to Michigan, the number 1 recruit who was originally committed to LSU. Michigan ponied up to $10 million. LSU didn't. So you traded $10 million for $50 million now, and if you had kept and gotten Underwood, the likelihood of Brian Kelly getting fired was probably not going to happen because you'd be worried about Underwood transferring out of the program. So I think for a lot of these coaches now, they're going to be tied, kind of like the NFL. You're going to be tied to these pop prospects coming in at quarterback to where like, hey, I got the guy, Jaden Daniels, maybe he's saved. Maybe he saved Brian Kelly, and now that he's not there, the wheels have kind of fallen off, and Bryce Underwood was supposed to be that other savior. And that's what Michigan probably hoping.
I think that's a little unfair because Portnoy from Barstool Sports, he was really big on that recruit to get him to Michigan. So
I think $10 million talks, Rome. Yeah. If somebody offered me $10 million to leave this podcast tomorrow, Rome, I love you, but I'm gone. It's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be going from no paycheck to $10 million. So I don't think we'd blame you on that one.
Yeah.
You can't blame me. You can't blame a guy.
Remind me to send you guys contracts so I can represent you as talent.
Okay.
It's on my checklist.
This guy trying to be one of the F1 team principals that like he's going to be our boss and our agent at the same time. So we're just,
that's all I want to do. Really, that's actually my goal.
I think it's where he got the idea from.
Yeah, just
We'll
going to
listen to
negotiate
F1.
against himself. He's going to be Toto Wolff representing George Russell in his negotiations with Mercedes.
All right, cool, man. So this game is the bottom 13th, but stressing me out. But yeah, we'll recap the rest of college football unless you guys have any other outstanding remarks for the coaching carousel or this past week. We're good to go.
I think we'll have more coaching carousel upcoming here. You know, Aaron's already called Florida State, a couple other teams
It's
out
open.
there.
It's open.
Yeah. Well, they said they're going to probably fire him at the end of the season, right?
Well, I mean, it's basically between. Man, they're just loading the bases here. Between now and the next 5 weeks, I think if they lose to Wake Forest, who's coming off a big win against SMU, who would never lost in the ACC regular season conference game, I think Norvell's probably gone this weekend if they lose to Wake Forest, which
interesting.
More than likely happens. I think now Florida State looks even more stupider because you've had Penn State pony up $50 million. LSU right away did, and you put out that stupid statement. If he lays another egg, I mean, we saw how bad Stanford is. I mean, Miami didn't even show up the first half and still covered a 30-point spread in that game.
Thank God.
Yeah,
thank God. I was nervous in the first half. I was like, oh, man, come on.
Well, it's a good thing I told you Miami, Rome, because Michigan got backdoored late by Michigan State and did not cover. So that really helped us out.
That was the worry. Those were my 2 picks. Yeah, so like, all right, cool. I was fine with either one, but I did feel better about the Miami one, though.
Yeah, so...
Well, that does it for bonus coverage from Source from the Sofa. Catch NBA stuff later this week. We will go over the next week in college football on Wednesday with Aaron's games of the week. We'll do lines as well. And
yeah, not quite there. Warning track power, Rome.
I'm not gonna lie, it looked really good coming off the bat. I'm like, oh my God.
It did look good.
Well, the bases were loaded, and it was a deep fly, and it was caught.
I totally missed how I went from 1 out to 2 outs. I'm like,
they just intentionally walked Betts and Otani to load the bases.
What was it? Is it? You said the end of the 14th inning?
13th, right?
13th, yeah. But I think when they showed they don't have much left on both bullpens. I think each one has like 1 left, if that.
I just got a text from a friend who's a big Mariners fan. Obviously, he's a little salty, and he just said both these teams suck.
I mean, Salt's pitting pretty nicely.